Hi there, welcome to the Schwowin's Nest. My name is Sandra, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's video is all about easy and quick fall DIYs, plus I'm going to be talking about a new merchandise launch at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Let's talk quickly about what you need for sublimation. The first thing you're going to need, of course, is sublimation ink. This ink was sent to me by Koala. It is called Sublimation ink, and you get 4 colors. This is the magenta, you get yellow, cyan, which is the bright blue, and then black. Next, you'll need a sublimation printer. I'm using the Epson 2720 EcoTank. You need the EcoTank function so you can fill up the ink tanks with the appropriate ink. Just note, once you've used sublimation ink in a printer, you can't go back to regular ink. So you'll need to get a printer and dedicate it for sublimation. All you do is open the cover, open each of the little ink wells, and then put your ink in using the instructions that came with the ink from the manufacturer. Next, you'll need sublimation paper. I received the paper also from Koala, and it's sublimation paper. It has the print on the back, so you're going to need to print your project on the front or the blank side of the paper. Products are available on Amazon, and I will have all the links that you need down in the description box. So make sure you go check out their store and see what craft supplies you need. Once you know what projects you want to create and you've got your graphics, it's time to print. Remember, when you're working with sublimation, you need to reverse the image, especially if it has text on it. It needs to print out backwards. So when you take your paper and lay it face down on your project, it will turn out right side up. Here's what my first design looks like, and you can see that my text is backwards. I'm going to continue printing all of my designs, and then I'm going to get to crafting. Finally, to finish your project, you need some type of heat press. This is an automatic heat press that I have, and I am in love with it. I'll have a link for this down in my description box, but you could also use a Cricut Easy Press or check out online on Amazon. If I can find a few other cost-effective options for you, I will definitely have them down in my description box. It doesn't have to be expensive, it just has to do the job, and it has to be able to get hot enough. So the first thing I did was lay down a piece of parchment paper. Now I have my project material, and this was just a tester. I wanted to see how the sublimation would turn out on this quilted fabric. I took my project, put it face down, and used some Teflon tape to hold it in place. Now I'll be taking another piece of parchment paper and putting that on top because I don't want to have any bleed through onto my heat resistant paper because I use that paper over and over again. So just a piece of parchment paper will prevent any ink from coming onto your heat resistant paper. To sublimate on fabric, you need to set the degrees at 385 to 90 degrees, again, depending on the type of fabric, but the majority of fabric that is best for sublimation is anywhere from 70% polyester and 30% cotton. You don't want to really go less than the 70% polyester. Lighter colors also work out the best, so white or off-white or maybe a light gray, those show the colors really well. It's going to be on for 60 seconds, and once the timer runs down, my heat press is automatically going to open up. Remember that this is really hot material, so once you take off your Teflon and your parchment, those are always pretty cool to the touch. You want to let your fabric rest for a few minutes until it gets nice and cool. Once it's cool to the touch, you can very easily just pull on the Teflon tape in one corner and it will all lift off. I love how this design turned out. I think it's pretty vibrant for the type of fabric that it is, and I think it's going to make a really pretty flag for my front porch. For my first project today, I took a 100% polyester tote bag and I cut one piece off of it so I would be able to sublimate these really adorable designs from Creative Fabrica right onto that fabric. These turned out so crisp and clear, and I love using 100% polyester because that just makes a huge difference in how clear your graphics turn out. I've got some wooden blocks that I gave a couple of coats of white paint to. It was just acrylic paint, nothing special. And this is the little piece of the fabric from the tote bag that I used for the sublimation. I'm going to take these black tacks and using my needle nose pliers to hold them in place, I'm going to just bang them into the wood and that will hold my piece of fabric in place. The block was a little larger than the graphic, so I'm just putting it off to the corner and then I'll be able to embellish the rest of it and make it look super cute. If you want to check out Creative Fabrica, I do have a link for their website down in my description box. Some of their graphics you need to purchase, but there's a ton of them that are freebies. This is the second graphic, and this one fits perfectly on this white block. I'm just going to do the same thing with the tacks. I love using buffalo check. I don't use it a lot lately for the summer, not so much, but for fall and for winter and Christmas, I just love it. And black and white is my absolute favorite, although I am starting to enjoy some of the different colors. I'm just adding this 6-loop bow to the top of the large block. This is the one with the little farmhouse truck on it, and I'm just going to fluff out the ribbon a little bit. I'm just going to add a couple of these little mini pumpkins. I'm going to put one towards the front of the bow and then one towards the back of the bow, both kind of leaning in a downward motion. I was super excited when I found this piece of orange and white gingham ribbon in my stash. I had it from the Dollar Tree last year, but as I said in another video, I'm trying to use up what I have and really trying hard not to go to any craft stores. So I'm just going to put it down the one side, just using some hot glue. I'm going to trim off the excess and then I'll put another piece across the bottom. I'm going to repeat this process using this smaller gingham ribbon. This actually was from Michael's again in my stash, didn't purchase anything new this year. And I'm just going to repeat the same steps with the black and white. I think it looks really fantastic on top of the orange and white. I'm going to top this sign off with a little pumpkin and a little black and white gingham bow. And I think both of these projects are really cute. The second project that I'm going to do is using an actual tote bag. This is the one that I said I cut a piece off of for my first projects. I'm taking a piece of parchment paper and lining the inside of the bag because again, I don't want any of that sublimation ink to go through to the other side or onto my ironing pad. This is the graphic that I'm going to be putting on there. And if you've noticed, the graphics are pretty pale. They don't look very bright, and that's normal for sublimation. What I'm doing now is taking some heat resistant tape and I'm going to tape down my graphic right onto the tote bag so it stays in place. And now I'm adding the piece of parchment on top because I don't want the ink, if it goes through, to get onto my heat resistant Teflon paper because that again will transfer to other projects if I'm not careful. I'm going to again do it at 390 degrees Fahrenheit for 60 seconds. It's complete. I've let it dry for a few minutes, and now it's just time to take everything away and reveal a beautiful, bright, crisp image on my tote bag. I don't know about you guys, but I still think the reveal is always the best part. I used the same steps for the sublimation to create this really sweet apron. This was a dollar store apron. It was only $3.50 and it's 70% polyester and 30% cotton, which is a perfect match for sublimation. And it looks so cute just decorated and hanging on a hook somewhere in your kitchen. This last project doesn't really have anything to do with fall, but I wanted to try out my Cricut mug press. I received this as a gift and it was so exciting to get it. So I wanted to do a mug with my Schwovin's Nest logo on it. So I hope you're still with me and I hope you're enjoying the video. This will be part of some merchandise that I will be having available pretty soon on an Etsy shop. So stay tuned and I will definitely be updating you on what is going to be available. I printed off the design using the sublimation paper and their ink, and now I'm just going to be cutting it in half. I always like to print off extra just in case something happens to the first one. I mess it up or I get water on it or smudge it or rip it. You never know what can happen. So this one worked out the first time around, so I'll be able to just hang on to this second print for another mug in the future. This mug press is from Cricut. I have it turned on and the power button is red and it will turn green once it's hot and ready to be used. Again, I'm using the Teflon tape, which is a heat resistant tape for this, and I'm going to make sure that I put it on really nice and straight. Make sure that it's nice and snug against the mug. You want to make sure that your project is going to work out. So take your time when you're using this. Put on as much tape as you need to hold it in place. And what I'm going to do also is add some parchment paper around it. So just in case any of the ink tends to come through the paper, it's not going to stain the inside of my press and then get on some other projects in the future. Now that I'm set to go, I'm going to make sure that I get that parchment paper in there and it doesn't crinkle up. Center my mug where the handle slot is, and then just very firmly push down on the latch. That will enclose the heating element right on top of the mug, and you just follow the little dots. There's 5 of them, and once they're completely flashing and white and it beeps, it tells you that your sublimation process is complete. Now, another note here, these mugs get super hot. The handle isn't hot, but the rest of the mug is. So you need to have some type of hot plate or oven mitt or something hanging around that you can set it down on until it has a chance to cool. It beeps to tell you that it's complete, and then you can just pull up the latch and it will release from the heating element. And you're going to see me here kind of touching the handle to make sure that I can grab it with my hand without getting burned. Again, I'm just going to set it down on a hot pad for now and let it cool. I'm so excited to be sharing that I was able to make this mug. It turned out fairly well. I did have a little bit of some lighter colors towards the mug handle, which is just something that I'm going to have to adjust a little bit. But look at how beautiful that design is. I love the black and white buffalo check. There's my logo. And then on the other side, I put in the Schwovin's Nest. I hope you found this tutorial informative and you learned something new. If you're interested in any of the ASUB products, the links will be down in my description box. I also have a link to the Epson 2720 printer that I use for sublimation. Let me know in the comments if you would be interested in buying any of my Schwovin's Nest merchandise. I'd really love to know what you think. Thanks so much for spending some of your valuable time with me. I truly appreciate it. If you haven't already, please give me a thumbs up, hit that red subscribe button, and don't forget to click that bell so you know every time I upload some new content. Bye for now.